everyone. Welcome to the Blackshirt Breakdown, another one. My name is Steve Marik. I'm a staff writer inside Nebraska, and he is Jay Foreman, our NFL veteran and former Nebraska Blackshirt. Jay, we have an offensive line transfer edition, a second one that Donovan Raiola has reeled in from the portal. This one is Walter Rouse, a 6'6", 318-pound left tackle, spent four seasons at Stanford over in the Pac-12 on the West Coast. And he is coming to the Midwest now and suiting up for Big Red. So, Jay, let's get right into it. When you first saw the news that Walter Rouse, an established 39-game starter at left tackle, was headed to Lincoln, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm happy for Nebraska because he's a guy that kind of like when you look at a transfer portal that's really you could get excited about because you have tangible film that you can watch of him being successful, especially at a Power 5 place like Stanford, coached by David Shaw, even though he resigned earlier this year. But he's established a football program there and one of physicality, and he knows what he's looking for in an offensive line. So you got to figure Rouse is right in the line with that, and he jumped in the portal after David Shaw decided to step away from coaching, and so that's exciting. One, that Nebraska was able to get a legitimate offensive lineman, but then two, they beat out some good teams. And then three, he's a big man, right? But he's always been a big man, and he wears it well. 318, but he's a good looking 318 pounds. I think under Coach Donnie Raiola that he'll get even better, get some tutelage. Another type of physical, real technician type coach. And so I look for him to come in and pay dividends immediately at one of the tackle positions for Nebraska.
And you bring up a good point with Donovan Raiola. I think Donovan Raiola needed a big offseason, perception-wise.
Right.
We all know whether he deserves a lot of it or not. We all know the offensive line struggles from last year, his first season in that room. But hey, you got to give the guy credit right now. He reeled in Ben Scott, who's likely going to be starting at center. A longtime starter at Arizona State. So that's really good. And then now he just got potentially a longtime starter at left guard now. And so that's just, I think when you're looking at reshaping Nebraska's offensive line room, what you want to do is add talent and add experience, and that is exactly what Ben Scott brings, and that's exactly what Walter Rouse brings. A little background before we get into some breaking down some of Rouse's plays. A little breakdown on Rouse is he's from the Washington D.C. area, and he chose Stanford out of high school, and he's just an impressive dude. Biomechanical engineer. All those Stanford football players are impressive dudes, it seems. But so a really smart guy. He was a finalist for what they call the academic Heisman trophy. So that is just an impressive guy that I think you want in Nebraska's offensive line room for multiple reasons, for his play on the field and for maybe developing some of the younger guys in there, because Nebraska had a pretty good 2023 haul on the offensive line side too. But with that, let's get into some of these plays now. I kind of went through some of his tape from this past year at Stanford. We picked out some examples of him in pass pro, run blocking, and then also maybe like we said off camera, Jay, he's not a finished product by any means, but there's a lot of talent there. So we're going to show some examples of him losing some battles and maybe seeing how we could what maybe he needs to work on the most when he gets to Lincoln. But so let's get into the plays right now. Let's go to the beginning of this thing right here. So Jay, first one, pass pro. This is a game at USC.
Yeah, you're going against some USC, even though it's Lincoln Riley's first year. They got athletes out there, so you're gonna look at, you see the score right here. Stanford's behind, so they're chucking and ducking type of mentality, and you see right here a nice, impressive pass set right here. Good kick step there, dealt with the bull rush there from a legitimate pass rusher right there. You like the good initial punch, the recovery, and the second and third adjustment off of that bull rush to the inside pass rush of this USC defender here. But I like it. Look, he's out of his stance good, square pads, nice long arms, good initial punch, good pad level, sinks his hip a little bit, recovers after he's kind of getting thrown off balance, and then got his hands inside right there and was able to provide a clean pocket from the left side. So this is what you really want when you're trying to get a left tackle at any point, freshman or out of the portal. But then also you like it at he's at the Power 5 level and playing against good competition and out of the Pac-12. So you know he's going to face a variety of competition in that league. So even if he gets beat every once in a while, which you would prefer to him to come here to pitch a shutout all 12 games, you know he's going against legitimate competition. And Stanford played a lot from behind. You see here 21-7. You're in pass protection mode when they're in shotgun with the offset back to you here. Another good pass set right here. This is what we call a quick set, where you're expecting a quick pass. And so it's a little bit shorter set right there. So you see the choppy steps, and you see him able to have a good pad level, initial shock with his arms right there, and able to absorb this bull rush right here. And he knows right there that he has to stay a little bit lower because he's 6'6", and that the ball's going to be coming out quick. So when the ball's coming out quick, the trajectory is going to be a little bit lower. So you like when he's able to quick set this guy right here, absorb him, no penetration so that you can't get bull rush back into the line of sight for the quarterback. So I like that set. And here's another one here against Washington that always has good defenders right here. He's this is in a pass pro situation right here. He had a good initial stab and washed them all the way down right there, and is able to recover with decent footwork here to get back out on the outside looper here. You see like a little bit of another good little RPO action. So you're getting a little bit of a quick 3-step pass set, pass it around with the defensive tackle coming around the loop here. And he kept his pad level low. So even if the defensive lineman tried to continue on his pass rush, he was able to stonewall him right there. So it's good right there, good attention to detail. You see his eyes. Look at his eyes right here, right? He's fixated on who he needs to block. And it has to do with communication. I'm sure there's communication coming on right about there. Look at his eyes. He's going to take him down right there. He washes him down, seeing somebody cross his face, immediately gets back outside and is able to do it with good technique and good pad level. You see that right there where number 91 isn't able to get any type of movement on his bull rush coming around late on an ET stunt. So an ET stunt is the ends going underneath first, tackles looping around. He's able to wash that defensive end down, come right back out and get that at least a good chunk on number 91, the tackle looping. Because sometimes, that we've seen at Nebraska, the tackle can go all the way down and then not get his eyes back out or his body back out, and the defensive tackle, as we saw at times actually against Wisconsin and Minnesota, to get sacks and big plays at crucial times against our offensive line last year. So right there alone, that's something that you can see is tangible, that they can go from Coach Donnie and Coach Rhule and company, Coach Satterfield can see something that he can do that wasn't done at a high level last year against high level competition. And there's still room to grow, because even though his pass sets are pretty good, you still see some little things that you want to see from a defensive perspective that has to do with his technique as an offensive tackle, pad level, initial punch, a little bit more knee bend. You see it right here again. This is actually better than the pass set before. Yeah. You see this quick, I think they're playing Cal right here. Little quick set right here, boom, good punch, and a really good recovery and get out there on the defensive tackle that crossed his face even faster than the Washington ET stunt. You see this right here, tight alignment by this outside linebacker DN. Quick set, good pad level. Once it declares, punch, washed him down, good communication right there, able to come back out with low pads right there. Another initial punch swallows him up and engulfs him and allows the quarterback to have a clean pocket. And that's all you can do when you're a left tackle there facing some, pretty good players right there. So I'm pretty impressed with his ability to pass set. Can get better, but I like what we're working with right here.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I think anybody who watched Nebraska in 2022 knew that, defensive line stunts, twists, those ET twists that you mentioned, they either the communication wasn't there with the Huskers or something, but it usually worked out for the defense when they were playing games up front and moving, showing a lot of movement. The Huskers weren't really good at, I think, picking that up. But with Walter Rouse here, let's go into some run defense, or some run blocking, I should say. I didn't see a ton of this in the film that I watched, but I tried to get some of the best. And obviously, like you mentioned, Stanford they just didn't have a really good year, and they were throwing the ball a lot, and they were introducing a new offense. They were kind of big fans of that slow mesh that Wake Forest was running a couple of seasons ago, and they tried doing a lot of that in the backfield, and just kind of difficulties with the Cardinals with the Cardinal on offense. But here's a run blocking example from Rouse here.
Yeah, you see Stanford, they're not able to replicate what a lot of explosive offenses are able to do just because of lack of recruiting. But this is a good inside zone right here. He's lined in a pass protection formation, but then you like the footwork right there. Again, double team. I used to call that a slip block. Right up to the second level, gets movement on the 3 technique, gets up on the second level, gets his hands on him, good pad level, feet moving. Now he's looking to finish the block as the running back's coming through there. He has his defender 6, 7, 8 yards down the field, and he's playing to the echo of the whistle. Now you see him, he's trying to finish him and maul him. I like the aggressiveness. I really, really like the footwork. It takes a really good athlete to be in a 2-point stance, fire off the ball, get movement on a defensive tackle to the point that 73 that he double teamed him with had full control over, and then he can scoop block or slip block up there to the second level of the linebacker who's coming downhill. And now he's able to have good leverage, good angle, right? So now he knows angles. Now he's getting his hands on him. Now he's just going to take the defender wherever he wants to go and just drive block him. And now it's up to the running back to make something out of that hole, which ran right behind 75 and 73. And that's what you want to see. Athletic stance, athletic player, athletic execution, and aggressiveness. So you really like what you see right there from that play. And this is another one right here, again, in 2-point stance right here, a tight game. They're actually winning this. Again, come down, pancake. That's what everybody in Nebraska would be loving to see more often from our offensive linemen. But again, I like the initial punch out of a 2-point stance against an aggressive defensive line. He doesn't have the advantageous angle on him to get a pancake block. But look at the footwork and look at the pad level, the initial shock. You see him right there. He doesn't lose any ground. He recovers, hands inside, leg drive. So you know he's got some good strength in his legs. And then now he's able to just lean on him and then pile drive him into the ground for a pancake block. So that's what you like right there from an offensive tackle, especially one that you can get out of the portal after the signing period, because you're seeing this guy, do some really, really good things. And then now we're going to what could be, reality, or what happens to reality when you're playing left tackle. I don't think people understand. You could play 100 plays at left tackle, get beat once, and you played horrible. So the fact that he gets beat, in these 3 plays is a learning experience for him. But then also it's just part of playing good competition. And when you play against speed rushers, guys that, don't really power rush, sometimes you can get over aggressive. And if you see this set versus the ones, prior, where he's really, really patient. You see this one when you start to give up an outside pass rush or inside pass rush, he's way, way too aggressive with his initial punch, right? So if you see this, he started to be a little bit top heavy, and his feet stopped. So then therefore when he punched, his head went down, his feet stopped, and then the outside rusher right here from Oregon is able to get past him on an inside move and then swim to the outside. You see him right there, set him up, feet stop. Actually a decent punch with the right hand, but look at his eyes right there, right? Mm-hmm. That was a waist bender right there. So he didn't trust his technique, didn't trust his pass set right there, and wasn't able to keep him off the edge and gave up a sack. But if we get a good angle here, you'll see him right here. This initial punch was okay, right? The inside move, the right hand stab, but the left hand and the left foot went dead, and that's how you give up your outside rush. So you got to give credit to the Oregon pass rusher, but then also know that you got to think that he probably learned from this play, and it's early in the game. It's actually the first play of the game. So, he kind of came out a little bit slow there.
Yeah, and that Oregon pass rusher is Brandon Dorless, second team All Pac-12. So just look, I mean, a lot of people say things about the Pac-12, but they got some good players too sometimes, especially at Oregon. 6'3", 290-pound pass rusher, Brandon Dorless. And Dorless wins this rep right here.
Right, yeah, so this is another one. Look, he causes problems here because he's a tweener. And again, it was a good, coming out of a 2-point stance, you're trying to scoop block him, you're trying to influence him as well. So when he's getting out of his stance really, really fast there, he's expecting the defensive end to read it to get to the outside. But what he does is he oversets him a little bit here, right? A little bit too wide. You see how wide he went with that first initial left foot, kick out step. which exposed him to the inside slip move by number 3. So you got to give him credit that he's able to go out there and make plays. But it's just a little technique things that, Rouse needs to get better at, which I know he will. And he's learning, and he's also getting better. And I'm sure he had other reps in this game where he won them. But in this right here, again, the same thing, over aggressiveness. Then you stop your feet. Then you become a more of a waist bender instead of a knee bender. Your eyes get way over your shoulders and over your toes. You end up giving up an outside pass rush, inside run defender. It gets inside you, gets you a tackle for loss. And then now the last one against UCLA, again, a kind of a tweener here, right? So this is a speed rush guy. So you got to think about the mentality that an offensive tackle was worried about. You're worried about speed rush, worried about speed rush. Had a decent pass set right there, right? He had a decent pass set, but the left hand overextended way too much, right? You need to keep that outside arm tucked in there, and you want to punch at the very last second. He punched a little too early, missed his punch. Okay, his feet were pretty good, but with that initial punch with the left hand and the right hand wasn't there, the feet stopped a little bit. He tried to recover and just kind of make him run the wide hoop right there. Good dip and pass rush there by number 15, who actually is the starting outside linebacker for the Miami Dolphins, which will probably lose this weekend just to my Buffalo Bills. But this is the first round pick with Phillips right here. So this isn't a guy that, just had a lucky pass rush here, but lucky pass rush there. This is a guy that's actually playing on Sundays that you get beat by. That doesn't make it, a good rep, but he was doing some good things right there. Lost his technique, and that's just the difference between giving up a sack or giving up a pressure or being able to just make him run the loop wide, and the quarterback's job is to step up. So good initial pass set right there. If I had to say anything, the left leg was a little too straight on his second kick step, which made his left hand stab miss. So you'd like to see his left hand a little bit more cocked there. So that will cock his left leg. Therefore, the stab will be a little bit more powerful, but this is, picking at, minute hairs here to what he could do. But again, every play that you're going to, that watch of a player isn't going to be perfect, especially when you're going up against legitimate competition. But I think it's a good get for Nebraska. I envision him, stepping in the left tackle, competing. It'd be very hard to supplant him. I think, just on his initial tape alone, unless something changed in his commute, from Stanford, Palo Alto to Lincoln, that would change that, that he wouldn't be your left tackle starting along with Ben Scott at center. I think what Nebraska's done, which you touched on before, and Coach Donovan Raiola, you want to give him credit. He's able to go out there and complete the initial recruiting class of all the freshmen, keep them coming here, even though a lot of the work was done before with the other staff. So he's a part of that. But then also he was able to go out and get a couple of veterans that can really settle the waters inside of his offensive line room and provide competition. And more importantly, leadership. Both of the guys that he's gotten out of the portal, perception or not, have played a lot of plays, a lot of starts. I think both of them well over 30 starts. That's a lot of playing time, a lot of snaps. They know how to work. They know what it takes to be successful. They also have room to grow as well. So that's where Coach Donnie steps in. But then also they can leave their mark in that offensive line room as far as the influence that they have on some of the younger players that are on the roster or will be in the roster when this recruiting class comes in.
Jay, the next thing I want to ask you about is someone going from left tackle to right tackle, because when Walter Rouse came up, everybody looked at the 39 starts at left tackle and he might not be coming here to play right tackle. So when you look at somebody like, let's say, Teddy Prochazka, who has been the starting left tackle at the start of the season, the past 2 seasons at Nebraska, right. How obviously we know the injury history. He's had 2 season-ending injuries in as many seasons. But what is it like for someone who has spent most of their college career at left tackle? Right. Is it an easy transition to go to right tackle? What are the primary differences between left tackle and right tackle?
Well, I'll answer the latter first. I think the primary differences is obviously your left tackle, when you have a right-handed quarterback, is probably your best pass protector, your most athletic, and that's what Rouse fits. And then your right tackle, ideally, is just as good as a pass protector, maybe not as much, but he's your mauler, your run tackle type of guy, right? So I know Teddy has been the left tackle for the last couple of years, but I think that's just based on he was the best left tackle. I think his natural position for me and the way that he plays, where you see Teddy when he's healthy, he likes to finish blocks. He can get on you and run his feet because he's a pretty good athlete for being 6'10", but he can play a little bit like a mauler, is the right tackle position. So if Teddy can come back in shape and back to his athletic ability before the last injury, I think it fits in perfect for him for right tackle. And then also learn from Rousey in the future if he wants to move over to left in a year or two. I think it does nothing but positive for not only Rouse, but then also for Teddy Prohaska. And then also Bryce Benhart gives you some flexibility with 3 tackles that you could possibly rotate. And then the first question is, how hard is it? Just kind of depends. I mean, if you're thinking of a Anthony Munoz or Trent Williams or somebody like that, we're talking about Hall of Fame guys. They could probably go from left to right. They can play any position that they want. But generally the guys that you like, especially when you're playing in a passing league, right, that started 39 or so starts, you would like to keep him at his natural position. And then also you also have a person that has a natural position and mindset for right tackle, Teddy Prohaska / Bryce Benhart. You feel pretty comfortable there is what you have at right tackle, in my opinion. Now, they could do whatever they like to do, but I'd like Rouse at left, Teddy Prohaska at right. It also doesn't put as much pressure on Teddy as far as pass protection wise. So when teams slide protection, you generally slide to the left, have a lot of protection, whether it's your scat protection with your running backs or with your H-back or tight ends. You'd have some help there for your right tackle and pass protection. So again, that helps Teddy Prohaska along in his rehab process, getting his legs and pass protection, his athletic ability back. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I think you know what they're going to do. They're going to put their best 5 offensive linemen out there, no matter what position. And so these 2 guys are going to play a big part in that. And I think the coaches should be happy about what they've done in the transfer portal, obviously with the latest addition of Rouse.
Jay, do you think Turner Corcoran would be one of the best 5 in the offensive line room right now? Because I know he started his career at tackle, right, but I think as his career has progressed, he's seen some time at guard as well. Right. As kind of maybe we feel like he's kind of a utility guy who could do right. a lot of different things because he's still an athletic. I know he's had some up and downs in his career. Right. A young guy who had to play early in his career. But what do you see from Turner Corcoran? Do you see him as one of the 5 best guys in the room right now?
I think initially, yeah, I think there was at times where he played pretty decent at guard. And I think with, if Nori can come back to where he was before, obviously being off for a year, he's going to be a little rusty, but, work towards getting back to his form to where he really, provided a spark, at times with the offensive line when he played 2 years ago, along with Scott in the middle. And then, a combination at right tackle along with Rouse at left. I think that, the coaches would be pretty happy, not only with the initial 5 or 6 guys that I just mentioned, but then it allows your, Henry Lutovskis and your Ethan Pipers to still develop and get, develop into Big Ten linemen. And then you have you're gaining some depth as well. So I like it. I like Turner. I think, biggest thing for him, he needs to get a little bit bigger and stronger and learn how to play, with his underneath his pads. But once he does that, I think he's fine because I think his time at tackle at both positions will make him a better left guard in pass protection. Plus, he'll know the Big Ten. He'll be able to communicate with Rouse. It's a good combination there with those 2. And then Nori and Teddy Prohaska kind of fit together as far as their mindset. Then you got Scott in the middle that's going to be the tempo setter. So ideally, if everybody stays healthy and everybody plays up to their potential, the offensive line could be a quiet as kept bright spot in 2023.
Absolutely. And one last note on Walter Rouse, Greg Smith over at Inside Nebraska gave him a call, did a kind of a visit report, commitment report. And Walter Rouse did have labrum surgery in November, and he's not going to be with the team during spring practice. He will be here, but he will not be going through spring practice. So, but when you get at this point in your career, a 39-game starter at tackle, of course you want to be out there with your team, but you're a veteran college football player. It's almost like Casey Thompson, where do you really need to go through spring practice? All of it, I guess. It might be more beneficial just to be in the room and get the playbook down and all that stuff, understand what you want to do as a team. So awesome stuff, Jay. That was a Blackshirt breakdown, and we will be back again whenever Nebraska snags another transfer portal edition. So for Jay Foreman, I am Steve Marik, and that was a Blackshirt breakdown.